this is the requirement. जैसे कि now we don't need the references. We want to know you who you are, where your money will come from, what will be the source, what will be the maximum deposit, okay? And the moment you exceed or your account fluctuates, you need to give an explanation. So in Know Your Client, we have a, quite a detail. We have covered a lot of things, and normally the integrity of the client and getting the information about our client through various sources. Then chapter 5 is a control overview. This chapter has also been thoroughly revised, and we have tried to incorporate the control requirement in a smaller entity. I am not talking of practices, I am talking of entities. When we are reviewing, one is the review of the big organization, and in a smaller organization where you will not find the internal control procedures that exhaustive and that detailed, I would not say effective or ineffective, and lots of controls will be missing because of the compulsions, because of the size. Segregation of duty may not be possible. So we have covered that segregation, the deficiency in segregation of duty may be overcome by owner manager supervisory. But what is the big risk in a small organization? Can anyone point out? What is the biggest control risk in a small organization when we are auditing? Very good. Excellent. Overriding the control. Why? Because the boss has the power. Okay? He said, forget about the GRA. Forget about the dispatch note. Don't prepare. Send it now. Okay? I got a phone call, you have to dispatch it. So you have to, deviate from the control. The overriding of the control is the biggest risk in a smaller entity. So we have covered those aspects also. And 6 is the audit materiality. Now this is, we have been facing a lot of problems. Shahid Sahab knows that audit materiality. So big problem, how to set the materiality. Okay? Some say, oh, ठीक है यार, 5%. And with due apologies, some of our members, we set, and we have to accept because this is a conscience. What we do, that after completion of the audit, then we set the materiality. Depending on the errors detected or misstatement detected, then we compute our materiality. कि यार 5 लाख का है तो चलो यार 5 लाख पे सेट कर दो, 10 लाख है तो 10 लाख पे सेट कर दो, ये हमारा materiality level without understanding. So we have tried to cover, and sometimes we don't know, really, we don't know how to do it. So that we have tried to cover in this manual, and we have discussed the concept of a new concept that this was not there in the earlier manual, performance materiality. Okay, one is the overall materiality, one is the performance materiality. You know all that materiality level, when it equals or if it exceeds, then what do we need to do? We need to apply further procedures, and that those further procedures can be increasing the size of the sample, making the procedures more effective, whatever. So that we do normally. Performance materiality, purposely we keep, when we are concerned with the materiality level at account balance and class of transactions, we purposely keep our materiality level low. One, that we don't want our staff to know that this should be more, so that they can conduct more effective audit, one reason. And second reason is that if you keep both the materiality level same, then of course at the end of the day, for example 500,000 rupees is the materiality level in the beginning, so any errors might equal to, the total errors might equal to 500,000 overall materiality. So you do not have any room for that. Furthermore, when at the planning level, as the audit continues, there will not be room available to change your materiality level. So that is the reason that this concept of performance materiality helps us a lot, and that helps us actually in dealing with our overall materiality. Okay, so then we have given a hypothetical case illustrations also. Profit situation में क्या करना है, loss situation में क्या करना है. Then we have given a single rule materiality method of calculation. Single rule means 5% of, say, for example, 5% of profit, net profit, okay? But in a loss situation, you might change it to, on the basis of assets, you make your basis as a turnover instead of a profit, okay? And then there is one more method we have given, that is, I would say, more effective. That is, we call it average or blend method. Average or blend method means we take materiality 1, 2, 3, 4 level. Say 5% on profit, 0.5% on sales, 1% on assets, yeah, 0.5% on assets, whatever. It's a matter of professional judgment. And then we take out an average materiality. So that also you can do. So that has all been covered. You see, you would realize once you go through these chapters, or you must have some of them, you must have gone through the chapters, things are easier now. I mean, I would feel that because a lot of things, the credit actually goes to IFAC. They have introduced a lot of clarity and a lot of things. Furthermore, there are a lot of things that have been said in IFAC, in the clarified project, that were actually helping us to make the audit more and more effective and efficient. Okay, chapter 7, fraud risk assessment. Now this has also been, I would keep on calling it, has been completely revised, and I have to repeat it time and again, because you see, the requirement was there. Now you will realize when we come to fraud risk assessment, the alarming development of Enron, Parmalat, Italian dairy product, Satyam of India, WorldCom, all these events have shaken our confidence. Okay? We were sleeping. So public confidence was shaken in the auditors because of these events. How IFAC reacted, that we are coming to. Now what was happening prior to this Enron? Prior to Enron, the audit was actually moving away from the fraud detection. What we were concerned with, that financial statements reflect, whether the financial statement reflect true and fair view of the state of entities affairs or not. Yes, still we are concerned with that. But our major concentration was, what error were we making? That we were placing greater emphasis on truth and fairness, and we were not concerned whether the misstatement was fraudulent or otherwise. So the concept of watchdog is no more valid now, because it proved a lullaby for us. Hum so gaye. The auditor is a watchdog, not a bloodhound. We were sleeping. So what we did, we disregarded the management intent in making the financial statement untrue or materially misstated. So that management intent actually we were missing, deliberate management intent in producing fraudulent financial statements. Now this change, what were the change? Two changes have been introduced by ISA 240 that we have covered in our manual. First change, that what are the changes those? The first change was that now auditors are required to evaluate accounting and internal control system, you can say risk management framework, in preventing misstatement, whether through fraud or otherwise, in all audits. If the senior people are sitting over here, we remember AS6 used to be there, AS6. I still remember that in that IS, the only requirement was that we need to understand the accounting and internal control system, perform certain walkthrough tests, and if we feel that these controls are not relevant, we used to reject the accounting and internal control system altogether, and we were placing our reliance on substantive procedures. So we were not concerned with the accounting and internal control system. But now they said, no, you will have to evaluate the accounting and internal system. Evaluation of accounting and internal control system, and you know Sarbanes-Oxley in US, it's more nasty and more I would say demanding of auditors and also the management. They need to report on the accounting and internal control system. So this we have